I'm over here and welcome to Module 5. Today we will be discussing energy resources. So we're going to discuss how our society generates electricity and what are the resources that we use in order to produce that. We will be enumerating and giving the advantages and disadvantages of those energy resources, and we will be tackling how energy resources are related to climate change. There may be some politics, a bit of politics gonna be discussed in between, but that's just how energy resources is and why it's very interesting. So for our topic, we have these learning outcomes. First, we're going to describe how fossil fuels are formed. Next, explain how heat from inside the earth, geothermal, and from flowing water, hydroelectric, is tapped as a source of energy for human use. So quite basic learning outcomes, but we will be discussing the other energy resources as well, so that you have a complete education in terms of how humanity have generated electricity from the past to the present. Okay, so whenever we create something, either an invention or a machinery, we make them because we want them to do work for us, either in a faster or a more efficient manner. Now, in order to do that, since we are asking or assigning those inventions to do work, we need energy. And as you may recall from your elementary days, energy is the ability to do work. And in our universe, it may come in different forms. So first, mechanical, then C stands for chemical, T for thermal, and then E for electrical energy. And the last one is what we have been using in the past century. So relying highly on electrical energy in our day-to-day activities. Okay, so speaking of day-to-day activities, how much do you think electricity does the Philippines actually use? Now, this is a data from 2015. So the Philippine household consumes an average of 248.1 kilowatt per hour. So if you are curious, if you are following this average, you could go ahead and take a peek at your Meralco bill if you are next to this average. But again, this is an average, 248.1 kilowatt per hour. So we use this mainly for lighting purposes. So to power up our light bulbs, our LEDs. Next, cooking. So either you have an electric stove, you use it for the microwave, your toaster, and other kitchen appliances. Next, recreation. So watching TV, your home cinema, playing games with your PC. Those are included in the recreation part. Next, space cooling. So as Filipinos, it's very hot here in our country, so we use a lot of electric fan. And air conditioning. So those are our main uses in terms of electricity. So very simple in terms of the Philippine perspective. So 248.1 kilowatt per hour is what is our average for the Philippines. But how about the world if we look at it? So this amazing graph, I really like this graph because it's giving us a lot of data, is the global direct primary energy consumption as of 2018. So it's giving us the amount of energy we actually consume per hour. So according to this 2019, this data, this is projected data because the data came from 2018. So it means it sort of projects how much we consume by 2019. Okay, so and since we have been increasing in the use, I think it still follows. So according to this global direct primary energy consumption data table, we have used about 151,000 terawatts per hour. So if you're curious what TWH stands for, that's terawatts per hour, as indicated here on the bottom left. Oops, you don't see it because my face is there. But yeah, terawatts per hour. It's gonna be in the slides. So 150,000 terawatts per hour by average by 2019. And as you also see on the right of the table, is showing where we actually get the energy that we consume. So The lowest one, traditional biomass. So when we say traditional biomass, basically using firewood as a source of energy. Next, we have coal, followed by oil and gas. So these three are the big players in our energy consumption, and then the small fraction would have nuclear, hydropower, wind, solar, and other renewables, also included modern biofuels or alternatives to the traditional biomass. But as you can see, the world is still highly dependent on these three: gas, oil, and as well as coal. Okay, so let's go back to the Philippine perspective. So how does the Philippines generate electricity, or how does the Philippine where is the energy of the Philippines come from in terms of resources? So as you can see here, 50%, almost 50% of our energy comes from petroleum products. Then 8.1 from coal. We also have biomass sources. So as I mentioned, fire like cooking with firewood or charcoal, that's still a form of biomass. We have a small percentage, 0.2, of natural gas and biofuels or of 1.4%. Now for electricity, 19.3, of course we have to generate that from other sources. So it could be from fossil fuels or renewable energy. Okay, so in terms of the Philippines, we are not self-sufficient in terms of our energy. We can support ourselves here. Indigenous energy is 55.3, so we can produce or support 50% or 55% of our energy demand, but the rest have to be imported from other countries. That's why we have to buy oil either from the United States or from the Middle East. Okay, so just gonna give you time to like digest this graph. Okay, all right. So this is what we will be discussing one by one. So what are these energy sources that I am showing you, and where do we actually get them? Okay, so this is the Philippine statistics. By the way, this table is from the Philippine statistics provided by the Department of Energy report in 2019. Just a quick segue. The Philippine Department of Energy has not produced data since 2017, and I don't know why. They used to like giving these graphs, these very organized graphs that you see on your screen, but since then, we don't see a comprehensive review of how much we actually generate versus the demand. And I have some assumptions, but of course, we're not going to discuss that since this is not politics class. Okay, so the energy that I have shown you in the graph can be grouped into different energy sources. So there are two. So based on the methods of electricity generation, this could be renewable. So those energy that is not reliant on sources that are finite or has a limit. So renewable is from unlimited resources. Then when we say non-renewable, those are the conventional and can and are limited. So there is a possibility that we will run out of those resources in the future. Okay. So for the non-renewable, we have four. So coal, oil, natural gas, and nuclear power. Then for renewable energy, we have quite a few. We have your solar, wind, hydroelectric, geothermal, and of course, biofuel. So we're going to go through all of these types of energy during our module discussions. Okay, but before we jump into the main discussion, as you can see, there are like 9 types of energy listed here, but the way we produce electricity using all of these resources are pretty much the same. The main idea are the same. Step by step, the end goal is electricity. And if you summarize it, they do have their own same mechanisms. So first, we rely on heat energy. So whenever we want to convert the energy that I have shown you, energy resources that I have shown you, it usually starts with heat energy, especially the fossil fuels. So in heat energy, energy from bond breaking formation in fuels is converted to heat energy. So for example, if it's a fossil fuel, we use it to combust something in order to create heat. Now that you have heat, we will convert that into kinetic energy. So the kinetic energy is from the heat energy used to convert water to steam, which has kinetic energy. So basically, using your heat energy in order to boil water, and in that you have movement in the form of steam. Now that you have steam, you can now convert that into mechanical energy. So the steam's kinetic energy becomes mechanical energy, which makes turbines and other mechanisms turn. So you have strong steam coming from your water. Now you can make that use that in order to turn your turbines, creating mechanical energy. And then number four, now that you have a spinning turbine with which you may attach a magnet and also some copper wires that will produce electrical energy. So mechanical energy from the mechanisms create electricity via electromagnetism. So combination of um, powerful magnets plus some wires will create an alternating current which we use in our power generation. Okay, so that step by step, that four step by step process is gonna be the general theme or the common denominator among all the electricity resources or energy resources that we will be discussing.